Hey guys, I am so happy to get to connect with all of you in our group, The Heart of a Healer. So, thank you for joining me on this journey to create community and to share support and inspiration and to mentor each other as we step onto the healing path. So, gosh, just a brief, because it's a brand new group, this is one of my first videos. Let me just mention just a couple things quickly, and then I want to talk about the art of healing. So, gosh, me. So I've been a healer and a teacher for a little over 20 years now, and I practice everything I can find. Honestly, I've just always been the type of person that piled a lot of tools into the toolbox, and I have learned over time how to combine them in a way that works both for me and a client. And also to find my comfort in my own style, which I think is one of the biggest challenges. The way we teach healing here, I don't want to ride that horse too much, but most of you learned a modality through schooling, through a weekend class, even Reiki Mastership, which I teach Reiki, so it's very close to my heart. Even Reiki Mastership now, people will teach in a one-day workshop, and I've known people who were certified as Reiki masters who had never had like a client that they didn't know, that wasn't a good friend. And that to me, that needs to be fixed. And I have seen some movement towards changing that, but there's still a lot of places where you get a certificate and you hang it on the wall, and I should have positioned the camera over here because all my certificates are hanging on the wall. And then you're supposed to go out and you have no clue. Like the first time you're sitting across from a person with real needs, not with a set technique that you're practicing in a class. Even people who sat in my classes or circles for years, like freeze, don't know what to do. So that's the purpose of this group. And also to talk about the ethics of healing and the integrity of healing and healing ourselves, and how we need to show up, because your clients, oh my gosh, like 15 videos just in the first 2 minutes, your clients are drawn to you because of your energy, your technique. Your modality is secondary to your personality, to your energy. They are drawn to you, and you have something unique to give them simply by your beingness. And that's something I'll come back to probably a gazillion times. Okay, enough, because I could do so many videos here. So let's talk briefly about what it means when I say the art of healing, because I think that is more than anything what we've lost in our culture of quick stop everything is. You used to apprentice. You used to sit for many years with someone who mentored you. And what I think it brought you was an understanding that it's not just learning a rote set of, processes. It is an art. It is uh, more than a gift. It's an art in learning to execute skillfully. So when I say that, and I'm going to write a blog on this also to get a little more in depth, but just to hit some high points of what I think to start discussion. Um, for me, I really think one of the pieces is it is a craft. And as a craft, it takes time to learn. So I know some of the people who join this group, have told me you're new, you're newbies, you're brand new to healing. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Just show up authentically day after day and learn your craft and get healing services from other people and expand your knowledge base, not in terms of technique, but watching what people do, and finding what resonates the most with you, because healing is a craft that is learned. And I like that as a verb, to craft, because when we say we're crafting something, to me, we are working carefully and with intention to create something beautiful. Right, so we are not sloppy. about what we do. We've put thought into it. We put care into it. We have been willing to start over and learn again. We've been willing to take time in really crafting. And to me, in crafting something, it brings to mind, creating something beautiful. So your beingness with a client and the way that you open, create, and close sacred space and all of your interactions, whether you are saying anything or not, but the way you energetically show up should be well thought out and done with intention. And that's another thing. If I think of fine furniture is what keeps popping into my head. And so if I think of like a well-crafted piece of furniture, it's durable, it's functional, and it's beautiful, right? And so in healing, we want to be durable. So we want the results to last, right? And we're going to talk a lot about that. It doesn't do any good to do a really amazing process and have someone walk out the door if we haven't prepared the foundation for them to hold on to the work, right? So, oh gosh, okay. Tangents, stay focused. Okay, crafted, durable, functional. Did it give people something useful they can use and, lasting and beautiful? Okay, so healing is a craft. Healing is your creative expression. It is your creative expression. Nobody is going to do healing in the same way, and they shouldn't, because again, the people that show up for you are drawn to your energy much more than your modality. We are insecure. Okay, and so we get hung up on the modality. Like, I need to justify my existence by explaining, I do Reiki, I'm a crystal healer, I'm a massage therapist, I'm a soul realignment practitioner, a shamanic practitioner, XYZ, right? Here's my justification. I'm going to tell you how I do it. And you know what? People don't care how. They just care that you do, and they care that they feel seen by you, and that they feel like it's safe to do the work with you. So again, modality is our understanding of what we're doing in our framework. And different modalities have purposes and frameworks, and that's important. And I trust that you have learned that and you have learned it well. But the next piece is like, how can you make it yours? How can you make it yours? So there's two ways of creating, and they're both equally creative and valid. One way is to take things you've seen other people do or things you've experienced yourself and combine them in a new and different way, right? So, and another way to create is really to just think of something that meets a need that's never been done before. You've never done it yourself before. You've never seen it done before. That's the innovative way of creating. They're both creative. And that's about making your healing arena yours. So bring all of you to what you do. Bring the beauty of you and allow yourself to think about like how you can creatively combine or have things resonate, or what works for the person who's sitting with you. And really, much more than what I am comfortable with, I always try to co-create, right, with the person, because it also has to resonate with them, right? Like if I try to do shamanic journey work together with someone who's not visual, and the journey is described in a lot of visual terms, and I'll say, okay, envision XYZ, and they don't get information that way, it's just going to frustrate them, right? So maybe they need to experience through their body, maybe they're tactile, right? And so we need to do other kinds of body work that focuses on the body rather than focuses on the mind and the envisioning, right? So that's co-creating. But first you got to get, make your process your own. So how can you create that? And one of the things I asked my Reiki mastership students is, describe to me from the moment someone stepped in your door what you would do. And I remember my friend Emily, who's such a delight, and she had this, I wanted a session from her, right? Because she's like, well, first I'd bring them in and I'd make them this cup of tea and I'd have like these essential oils because she's the essential oil queen, you know. And then here's how I would talk to them. And then when all of that was ready and everything was like grounded, then I'd start the session. I'm like, oh my God, I so want to come to you, right? So how do you make it yours? It gets to be yours now. You learn the stuff, the steps. Now, what's your way? And the more you give yourself permission to do that, the more that you are going to feel comfortable. And it also brings up another thing, other video, which is, gosh, question why you were told to do certain things. And if they don't, as you give them a shot, the things that don't resonate, I give you permission to stop doing because they don't resonate with you. And so quit doing them, right? So be creative and allow your creativity to come out. And we'll talk a lot more about that. Okay, third thing, healing is a subtle exercise. Healing is subtle. And so the more that we can move into a receiving space, because we get all excited or nervous, and that makes us tend to be out of our body and push our energy forward on people. If instead we can learn simply by breathing and leaning back as the first step, if you lean back slightly, you just put yourself in your body into a receptive space. If we can move into the observer receptive space with someone, and then we notice the subtleties. And I always say that for me, as someone, especially first time, right? And so I'm getting to know them and why they've come, that the subtlety of what they say and don't say, or avoid saying, or the piece of the story they skip, or the thing where all of a sudden they lose track of what they were saying and they go someplace else, those subtleties of how they present themselves as a healer give me the most clue as to where to go. So those things matter. And also, not only are you being an observer of them, it's very important to be an observer of yourself as you listen for two reasons that pop in my head right away. And the first is that in order to be aware of our stuff, right? Because people who are we got to talk manifesting blueprints sometime, but a lot of times we will attract clients who are very similar to us. They have similar issues. And when that happens, if we have not fully healed something or brought in a great deal of consciousness to it, we can get triggered as they move into the energy of that wound. And so it's important to recognize when we want to pull back from a client and notice that, because it's usually a key that there's something that we need to look at in ourselves, and it's important just to breathe and say, I recognize it. I'm going to put it aside to deal with later so we can stay present. Because if we don't get present or we get uncomfortable with what a client's sharing, then we're going to try to shut them down without realizing that we're doing that. It's just a way of keeping the field safe for us. So very important to recognize when we want to disengage and pull back so we can look at what that is, but also our bodies. Whatever kind of work you do, your body is the record of truth. It knows your truth, and it has a bullshit detector, and it knows when somebody else is not telling the whole truth, or there's something deeper to be said, or an omission. So it's very important to just be in receptiveness and listen to your body, because it's also going to give you the cues of where to go, or just information. So that subtlety of healing is amazing. And that also brings me to another point, which is that don't judge, don't look for validation through some big shift, especially like in the first couple sessions. Sometimes the smallest shifts that the client may not even be aware of initially create the biggest changes over time. So understand the subtlety of healing. I tell people, I teach workshops and classes, a bunch of stuff. And what I always say, I mean, I love it when people at the end of the day are all jazzed up and they're like, I love this, right? But what I say to people is judge what happens later. Because there's an emotional high. And if you do energy work, Reiki, or other kinds of energy work, just the amount of energy that you bring into a body can sometimes create a fake shift, or it's a temporary shift. So there's an emotional high, especially if we've been around a group of people for a day and there's lots of good energy, right? Good juju. So the test is not what happens in the moment. The test is what shifted later, a day later, a week later, a month later. And that's why we can't judge the results of our healing, because sometimes it's at this very deep level where it may not even be until years later that we can look back and see something was a turning point for us. So healing is subtle. And lastly, I made notes and I can't see. Oh, okay. So here's what's interesting. I think that it makes me think of art. I use the word the art of healing. I am not an artist. I seem to attract beautiful artistic people. My art is not like something you can hang on a wall. But I love the analogy because in art, often less is more. So it's understanding when simplicity is better, and when something's like there's too much stuff, there's too much clutter, there's too much. And I think that analogy holds true for healing, because especially if we feel insecure, we tend to pull everything out, including the kitchen sink. And this is why practitioners, instead of having 50 minutes, an hour, or even a 90-minute session, will go way over time, because they are insecure and they're piling every piece of information and technique that they can. And that's overload for people. And so simplicity, right? Just, St. Francis of Assisi, one of my favorites, he said, do few things and do them well. And there's something to be said for that. So, like, what is enough for today? And that is kind of always a place of inquiry I'm in with my support team, my guides, angels, my own sense of the healer within me. I'm always asking, just what's enough for today? What's the piece we want to do today? And I ask my clients that, what's the piece? Because you can't tackle everything all at once. And I am very intuitive, and I tend, even in the very first session, I tend to really have a sense of the core issues. But again, you have to build a foundation to support the work before you go into the core issues. And so, what's enough for today? Healing is a journey. There's, even the one-shot healings where people have amazing experiences, and especially if they happen to come to you for the first time, and have this great big experience, or somebody else, and we're all jealous because we want that, right? We want to be that person that gives them the magic bullet, the one shot. Usually, I would say always, honestly, people have done a lot of healing before that. They may not recognize it, but they've been shifting before that. And that is like the cherry on the sundae, right? That's the piece where it all clicks, the final piece where it clicked. But if it's lasting, then there's been a foundation of change that's been laid. And so the glory, is in putting the cherry on the sundae, but the power of it staying is really the foundational work of, for me, the kind of healing I do. It's helping people inhabit their body, helping people get into communication with their inner child, helping people, start to have skills to handle life and emotions and old beliefs that don't serve them. Like, I try to build a skill set so they have tools to move forward. So, okay, that's like, this video already is way longer than I wanted it to be, so I suck on that. And I just have so much to share. I'm excited to get to share this with you. So I hope that spurs some thoughts, and I'm so asking you, Please, please, please let this be a community where we discuss. I am maybe for some of you a couple steps further down the path in some ways, but we are all masters. We are all colleagues here. And so please share your own ideas. It's a safe and sacred space for you to get to start to test things and see what's true for you, because what's true for me doesn't have to be true for you. And I will always uphold your uniqueness and your power as a healer. That's what we need. We don't need clones. That's why I hate cookie cutter stuff. We need you to be you in the beautiful and unique and creative way you are. You are created to be. So thank you. I could go on and on and on, but we'll save it for more videos. And please comment. And if you're not comfortable commenting in the group yet, because we really don't know each other that well, please message me and let's start a dialogue there, because I'm here for you to be of service to you. And that is what I really want. So you're essential in this process. Thank you. Thank you. If you have other friends who are healers in the broadest way, anyone who's interested in these topics of how we create sacred space, show up with integrity. I mean, parents are healers, teachers are healers. I mean, so anyone who you think would resonate with this message, please invite them to the group so that we can begin to build this beautiful community together. I love you guys so much. Take care, and we will talk soon. Bye.